Good morning.
Hello.
Everybody hear me all right?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're very clear.
Great. Let's see. Okay, we got a minute to start. Who's got the agenda up here? Who is running the meeting? Sarah?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yes, it's
Good morning. Could you scroll down so the agenda will show for the audience? Please, thank you. And just sort of keep that in motion. Thank you.
of course.
Okay, well, I guess it's 9:30. We should get started.
Yes,
Today is, yes,
Commissioner Hall, Chair, welcome to being chair. And
Thank you.
I'm running the meeting today for General Counsel.
oh, fine. Thank you very much for letting me know, Judy. So today is July 13th, 2022, and we'll call this meeting to order and have a roll call called. So Ms. Amer, you want to do that?
Yes, Commissioner Hall,
Present.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar,
Here.
Commissioner Byrd,
We're present.
Commissioner Maestas,
I'm here.
and Commissioner Fishman.
Shoot.
I am here.
We have 5 commissioners present and we have a quorum.
Thank you, Judy. So I got a little notice that I have an unstable connection. I hope that won't continue. But in any case, let's move on, just so you know. Let's do the pledge. And Commissioner Byrd, would you honor us with doing the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you very much. Now we have item number 3, consideration and approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have an amendment to the agenda.
Okay.
Employee of the month presentation will be postponed until the next meeting.
All right.
And
Do I hear a second?
And then, Madam Chair, in
Yes.
the current agenda, I think your agenda item under discussion and potential action was removed. A
Yes.
discussion on the review of the work plan.
That's correct. We'll deal with that next week.
So I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Judy, can you invite
Yes.
votes?
Commissioner Maestas,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Vicente Aguilar,
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman,
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd.
Aye.
The agenda motion passes 5-0 as amended.
Okay, item number 5, introduction of special guests. Sarah, do we have any special guests?
Madam Chair, we don't have any special guests today that I'm aware of.
Okay, great. And item number 6, public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Madam Chair, this is Hans Fuller.
Yes?
I have not received any requests to make public comment. Just as long as there is no one present in the hearing room that wants to make public comment, there is nobody signed up prior to the meeting.
Okay, great. All right. Now we have item number 8, consent action items. Judy, would you mind reading those out?
Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes, Commissioner Byrd.
Skipped an item. Prior meeting minutes.
Oh, yes, sorry, I'm looking right at it. Item number 7, consideration and approval of prior meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes to the meeting minutes? Hearing none, do I have can I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll move the minutes of June 15th, 2022 and June 22nd, 2022 to be accepted into the record.
Okay, do I have a second? Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second
Okay.
that.
Okay, great. So we've got a motion and a second. Judy, can you take the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Byrd,
Aye.
Commissioner Maestas,
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman,
Aye.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall.
Aye.
The motion to approve prior meeting minutes passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Judy. Now, item number 8, the consent action items. Judy, do you mind reading them out, please?
Yes, first we have a transportation matters. Case number 22-00128 TRM. In the matter of the application of Air Interfacility Transport LLC, DBA AIT Ambulance, DBA AIT Transport, for a certificate to provide non-emergency medical transport service. Potential order regarding application. Case number 22-00165 TREN. In the matter of the investigation of Redline Oilfield Service LLC, potential order closing docket. Case number 22-00151 TRM. In the matter of the application of FAITH Behavioral Services and Wellness Center LLC for a permit to provide non-emergency medical transport service, potential order regarding application for certificate. Case number 22-00148 TRM. In the matter of the application of City of Raton, DBA Raton Ambulance Service for reissuance of certificate number 12326 to provide ambulance service, potential order regarding application for reissuance. On to utility matters. Case number 19-00106 UT. In the matter of applications for 2020 broadband program support from the State Rural Universal Service Fund as per 17.11.10.31 NMEC. Potential order regarding Plateau Telecommunication Incorporated's request for final disbursement of award for Estancia Valley project. Potential order regarding Windstream Communications Southwest's requests for midpoint disbursements of awards for Cuba project and Espanola project, and request for initial disbursement of award for JAL project. Case number 20-00099 UT. In the matter of applications for 2020 broadband program support from the State Rural Universal Service Fund as per 17.11.10.31 NMEC. Potential order regarding Sierra Communications Inc.'s request for midpoint disbursement of award for Turf Drive project. And case number 20-00182 UT in the matter of the application of Public Service Company of New Mexico for approval of renewable power agreements and energy storage agreements and proposal for demand response plan pursuant to final order in case number 19-00195 UT, potential bench request order. Case number 22-00045 UT, joint petition of Echo Wireless Broadband Inc. and Resound Networks LLC for Echo Wireless to relinquish its ETC designation and to transfer its FCC CAF Phase 2 census blocks to Resound Networks LLC. Potential order on stipulation. Case number 21-00228 UT. In the matter of the verified petition of OSO Internet Solutions LLC for designation as an eligible telecommunications carrier. Potential order regarding recommended decision. Case number 22-00135 UT. In the matter of the application of New Mexico Gas Company, Inc. for a variance from 17.10.640 NMAC for its June 2022 gas cost factor statement. Potential order regarding variance. Case number 22-00136 UT. In the matter of the verified petition of NMPRC Inc. for designation as an eligible telecommunications carrier. Potential order appointing hearing examiner. And case number 22-00171 UT. In the matter of the application of New Mexico Gas Company, Inc. for a variance from its 17.10.640 NMAC for its July 2022 gas cost factor statement. Potential order regarding variance. And that is a lot of consent items due to the fact that we did not have a meeting last week. And at this point, it's for the commission to make the motion.
Thank you, Judy. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Fishman. Okay, Judy, you want to take the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Fishman,
Aye.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar,
aye,
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd,
Aye.
Commissioner Estes.
Aye.
The consent agenda items pass 5-0.
Judy, did you say, I was frozen for a minute, so or you guys were frozen actually to me.
The
Did we get
consent agenda items pass 5-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 9, regular action items. We have nothing under transportation matters. So under utility matters, we have item number 21-00033 UT in the matter of the Integrated Resource Plan, a public service company of New Mexico for the period 2020 to 2040. We have a potential order regarding their application. And Ms. Amer, do you want to take the mic?
Yes. This matter comes before you today upon the Commission's April 6, 2022 order requiring PNM to update its integrated resource plan for the period of 2020 through 2040. And also upon PNM's update, which was filed on April 27th, 2022, and upon staff's updated recommendation filed on June 29th, 2022. There are 2 proposed orders. One order would adopt staff's recommendation to accept PNM's IRP as updated. And the other order would accept, also adopt PNM's updated IRP in accordance with staff's recommendation, but would add the requirement that the acceptance is contingent upon PNM including the following in its future 2023 IRP filing. 1, a meaningful analysis of transmission and distribution constraints and opportunities to increase resource availability and flexibility. And no later than April 1st, 2023, PNM filing in this docket a second update to its 2021 IRP, which shall address the same issues as addressed in the April 27th update. And I'll go through the background at this time if you'd like me to, or else I can open it up for discussion. Which do you prefer? Should I go through the background?
Madam Chair, I'd like to have her go through the background.
Okay. Well, this case started on January 29th, 2021, when PNM filed its 2020 to 2040 IRP. And it was docketed as this case number 2021-00033. On February 10th, 2021, a joint motion was filed requesting a variance from the IRP rule 17.7.312. The variance request stated that it was needed to ensure that the commission and the stakeholders had an adequate opportunity to evaluate and provide input. And they also requested an evidentiary hearing. On February 14th, 2021, the commission issued an order which denied the motion for an evidentiary hearing, but did grant a variance from the timeframes provided in 17.7.3.12 for the submission of public comments, utility responses, and utility division staff recommendations, and a confirmation of staff's position on the reasonableness of P&M's model inputs and assumptions, and did grant the variance for further review of P&M's IRP and for the performance of modeling. That order in February of 2021 appointed Robert Lennon as hearing examiner solely for the purpose of scheduling conferences and issuing orders pertaining to information access, including the need for any protective orders, and to facilitate access to P&M's modeling data and software, pursuant to the same process that was used in case number 19-00195, and to establish deadlines for the completion of alternative modeling, comments, response comments, and for staff to perform and complete its review and recommendation. All of that did occur during 2021, and staff filed a recommendation in 2021 recommending approval while other parties did not. Then in April 6th of 2022, the commission issued an order which required P&M to promptly notify the commission and participants of material events that would have the effect of changing the results of the IRP had those events existed when the IRP was developed. The April 6th order found that the following material events had occurred since P&M first developed its IRP in this docket. First, there was a February 23rd, 2022 order in case 19-00018, which resulted in P&M's continued operation of the San Juan generating station until September 2022. And there were statements filed by P&M in a November 2021 and January 2022 compliance notice in case number 20-00182, which both reported that some of P&M's anticipated replacement resource PPAs would not be ready by June 2020. That was the date that had been agreed to come online. And there had been a declaration of default by some of the PPA vendors due to force majeure and pandemic-related supply chain shortages. The order ruled that these events did constitute a material change that required P&M to provide notice and an update. On April 27, 2022, P&M filed an update to its IRP in this docket, which included an updated loads and resources table and other tables, and an update of all the other relevant portions of the IRP, and explained the material that occurred since the IRP was developed. P&M stated in the update that the projected changes to the IRP were due to the default by the vendors and the invocation of force majeure by anticipated replacement resources for San Juan generating station. And also due to the order in 19-000 18. P&M stated on page 2 of its update, quote, P&M notes longer-term impacts of the recent material events identified by the commission and discussed in the second addendum. P&M also has filed a second addendum in this docket, will be analyzed and encompassed in the recently initiated 2022-2023 public advisory process for P&M's 2023 IRP. And in addition, the update also gave some information about what it's done to remedy the San Juan replacement project delays. It's such as extending the life of Unit 4 of the San Juan coal plant through September 2022. They've issued market RFPs that failed to produce any bids for resources that would be timely and material effective. They were able to enter into contracts with neighboring entities, including Tri-State and EPE and Uniper regarding the Four Corners coal plant. And based upon these efforts, the update in the update, P&M asserted that it had been able to acquire generation to replace the delayed San Juan replacement projects for summer 2022. And P&M asserted it's pursuing remedies for summer 2023 and is reporting progress bi-monthly. P&M's update did acknowledge that transmission constraints are a key critical impediment to market resource access. And I quote, while some utilities may have additional capacity, transmission constraints have rendered some of those potential resource transactions infeasible, close quote. And quote, the most significant hurdle to resource options is the availability of transmission resources and available transmission interconnection rights to facilitate the shortened deadline, close quote.
Judy, excuse me, what document is that you're reading that from? Just repeat that again.
P&M's April 27th update.
What year?
It was April 27th, 2022.
Okay.
P&M's update.
Okay. So please proceed.
Okay. P&M also explained there were specific constraints regarding access to resources located on the eastern grid across AC/DC converters. But that was there were no other specific addressing of transmission constraints.
Judy, I'm sorry, you froze up on me for a minute. You were just saying P&M also explained. Can you repeat that one little part?
Yes, there were specific constraints regarding access to resources located on the eastern grid across AC/DC converters, but there were no other specific transmission constraint explanations. So on June 8th, 2022, the commission issued an order that required by June 15th, 2022, the parties to file written responses to these statements made in P&M's April 27th update. And that P&M could file a reply by June 22nd of 2022. And then on June 29th, staff would file an update to its recommendation, updating all sections of the November 21st, 2022 recommendation in light of P&M's April 27th update, and also responding to any filed responses in P&M's replies. On June 15th, 2022, the commission received two participants' responses to the update, NMPRC and Interwest. NMAREA indicated that the commission should accept PNM's 2020 IRP and adopt their initial recommendations because those initial recommendations provide a basis for how PNM should operate going forward. And specifically, NMAREA referenced its initial comment, which was filed in September 30th, 2021, which stated, quote, PNM's IRP in this docket provides a clear but generally flexible pathway toward achieving its 2040 carbon emissions free goal and also meeting the other requirements of the ETA. Additionally, NMAREA appreciates the conservative approach PNM has taken in its resource modeling with respect to its overall goal of reducing carbon emissions from its generation facilities on an ongoing and consistent basis. Close quote. On that date, NMAREA recommended the commission require PNM to address 6 issues in its subsequent resource acquisition cases and its next IRP. The 6 issues were: 1, transmission planning; 2, market assistant import limits related to LOLP studies and the reliability of the most cost-effective plans; 3, regional opportunities for reserve pooling coordination; 4, quantification and modeling of risks of extreme weather events; 5, diversity values of wind, solar, and storage resources; and 6, cost assumption. Those were what they originally recommended in November of 2021. In June 15th of 2022, NMAREA stated, out of these 6, the most critical issue remains transmission planning, because the development of a comprehensive transmission plan is an essential component of identifying the most feasible resource options and determining the most cost-effective plans. And that's expressly stated as commission authority under its current IRP rule. And NMAREA points out that under our current IRP rule, the commission has authority to require PNM to develop a comprehensive transmission plan as part of its next IRP filing. NMAREA, in support of its request for PNM to include transmission planning in its next IRP, points out statements made in PNM's second addendum relating to the failures of its planned projects to come online in a timely manner. They are due to transmission issues, and that makes transmission planning more, not less important. NMAREA stated that PNM's already in the process of developing its 2023 IRP. And for this reason, PNM needs guidance and direction from the commission in order to make the 2023 IRP and its next 4-year action plan as resilient and robust as possible. Interwest comments, which were also filed on June 15th, 2022.
Excuse me, Judy.
Yes.
Didn't you miss this? You're leaving on a point I think you made in your proposed order to the effect that for all the reasons you just stated, NMAREA is recommending that the commission issue a final order in this docket as soon as practicable, in which it adopts some of, if not all of, NMAREA's proposals. I mean, that's something they're asking for.
I agree. That is what they're asking for. And if I didn't say that in the beginning, that is, they want either all 6 proposals added or their most important proposal of transmission planning is a request by NMAREA.
Mhm.
In addition, Interwest has filed initial comments to PNM's most cost-effective portfolio and 4-year action plan. They never agreed with PNM's 4-year action plan, and they continue to ask the commission to reject PNM's at April 27th update. And they made only 2 additions to their 4-year action plan. And they want all of their previous proposals to reject their 4-year action plan and accept and approve the no new combustion portfolio. That was one of the their requests earlier in this docket. And they also want PNM to implement many corrections made in Interwest experts white paper. That being said, regarding transmission planning, Interwest agreed with PNM that transmission constraints are a key impediment to resource acquisition and flexibility. But Interwest did not agree with PNM that it should continue to push future consideration of this critical issue, and requested the commission order PNM to have that included in this 4-year action plan. On June 29th, 2022, Utility Division staff filed an updated recommendation, which stated that it reviewed all the filings. It reviewed PNM's initial IRP, erratas, PNM's April 27th update, as well as all the responses to the April 27th update. And they noted that PNM's next IRP is scheduled to be filed in 2023, and the public advisory process has already been initiated. They went through all the various requirements of the IRP and concluded that each one of them have been updated and met the requirements. And in total, staff recommended that the commission accept PNM's IRP as meeting the requirements, and that it stated that transmission issues should continue to be addressed in the ongoing IRP rulemaking. So for all of these reasons, staff concluded that none of the additional issues raised by interveners constituted a material failing of the IRP, and that the issues should be addressed in the ongoing IRP rulemaking. And staff recommended that the commission consider accepting the IRP as filed and updated, and then require possibly another update in the first quarter of next year to address further delays that may occur in changing circumstances in advance of summer 2023. So for that reason, the commission now has been provided with 2 orders. One, to simply accept staff's June 29th, 2022 updated recommendation that PNM's 2021 IRP for the period of 2020 to 2040 is hereby accepted and updated, and then require no later than the end of the first quarter of next year to file a second update addressing the same issues as the April 27th update. The alternate order would also include that PNM, PNM's IRP acceptance is contingent upon PNM including in the future upcoming 2023 IRP, a meaningful analysis of transmission and distribution constraints and opportunities to increase resource availability and flexibility. So those are the two orders that are proposed. And I stand for questions.
Commissioners, does anyone have any questions for Judy?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Maestas.
Well,
Vice Chairman.
I'll let Commissioner Fishman go first. I think he's the
Is that Maestas,
sponsor
I
of
suppose?
Yes, Madam Chair, but I'll defer to Commissioner Fishman. I think he wants to discuss his version 2 of the order.
Okay, that's fine. Commissioner Fishman, could you proceed?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Maestas. I think NM area is spot on in their recommendation. Number one, I do think it is wise to close out this particular IRP fairly quickly because there's already work going on in terms of the 2023 IRP, and whichever docket it happens under, it's just duplicate work, it feels like to me. Also, we're covering the same issue in our resource adequacy dockets. So again, I think it's wise to consolidate dockets as best we can, since it feels to me like the same work that would be done if we kept this docket open. In terms of the transmission and distribution requirement for the upcoming IRP, I know in the rulemaking that we're doing on the IRP, we are looking at more explicitly requiring under the current statute that transmission and distribution issues be covered for a number of reasons. One is just plain resource adequacy. Transmission is certainly a big part of that. Also, the fact that the statute says quite clearly that load management is part of what needs to be considered in the IRP. It hasn't been considered real closely in the past, but you can't do load management without looking at distribution and your distribution planning. Your various load management programs depend on grid modernization steps. They have direct influence on how much you need to increase or keep level the amount of distribution capacity that you have. Also, distribution expense and transmission expense are very significant capital expenditures going forward, and going to become more significant for all the utilities. As we go to more renewables, managing that grid is going to become an increasing percentage of expenses. It's already near, 40 to 50%. And we're simply not considering costs. I'll quick illustrate the point. With El Paso Electric, there were a couple of projects that just went into play where they projected interconnection costs of $2 to $3 million. And they're turning out to be, at least according to 440 filings, closer to $12 to $13 million. So these are significant expenditures that we're just not taking account of. So whether you're looking at resource adequacy or total cost to consumers, these are elements that need to be considered in the IRP and are becoming more and more important. And since it's upcoming, it's an upcoming issue in the rule we'll be presenting shortly, we may as well cover it now. And as NMPRC points out, this is a current urgent issue. It's not something that's just waiting on the back burner by PNM's own filing. They're saying, hey, transmission in particular has become a constraint, and we can't address resource adequacy without including it. And boy, that's part of the IRP. So anyway, that was my logic, and I wanted to thank NMPRC for making this recommendation. I think it was very wise on their part.
Thank you, Commissioner Fishman. Commissioner Maestas, did you want to make some comments?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I thank you for indulging me in having Judy go through the background. First, I wanted to thank the internal agency team that meets bi-weekly to discuss resource adequacy. One of the issues that we raised was the need for an IRP update and to bring to light any material changes that could impact replacement resources to meet especially summer 2023 peak. So I'm very happy to see that that we do have these changes and we know more about some of the constraints of these PPAs of the replacement power projects. I guess I had a question for OGC on version 2 of the order. What is the practical use of the contingency to require a transmission plan in this current IRP or in the 2023 IRP? If we complete the rulemaking, couldn't the revised rule that does require a transmission plan in the IRP going forward, could that reasonably apply to the current IRP that's being updated? That's a Judy question.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Maestas. A lot of the points you mentioned depend on timing. Right now, PNM is developing its 2023 IRP filing and is requesting input from stakeholders and holding meetings. Right now, transmission and distribution probably is not being discussed. But if that contingency is included in this order, then it would be discussed and start to become part of the plan, no matter when the IRP rule is adopted. If you wait like 2, 3, 4 months, a lot of this planning process that PNM's going through right now will not include transmission and distribution constraints. So basically,
but Judy, we don't really know that because PNM's already acknowledging some of the constraints that transmission planning is presenting to resource adequacy. So if they acknowledge it, wouldn't it be, couldn't we, I hate to say assume, but to me, it would seem that including a transmission plan in the 2023 update would be desirable.
I think it's a choice of the commission. I would agree with what you're saying. You could assume that would be part of their 2023 IRP, or you could also take PNM at its word that they said that transmission planning should be discussed in the rulemaking. and maybe it would only be discussed in the rulemaking and not in the future 2023 IRP. So I think it's just a matter of uncertainty. And if the commission chooses and as a policy and statutory matter believes that managing the grid and transmission and distribution need to be included in the IRP, then it would be advisable to do it sooner rather than, as you said, assuming that it would happen or waiting until the 2023 IRP became a final rule, which is, it's anticipated within the next few months, but there's nothing certain until it actually happens.
So Judy, I guess, let me just put it out there. I'm uncomfortable singling out one investor-owned utility to require something in their IRP that's not currently required in the current rule. And I think that's why staff's recommendation is the way it is. And another reason why I favor staff recommendation is that they're asking for an update in the first quarter of 2023 because of all of our shared concerns over the current reserve margin of, I think, 4% for summer of 2023. So I don't feel like we're on solid ground to require this. The current rule is a compliance rule. It's kind of a checklist that has to have certain elements in it. And what was submitted to us is acceptable in the current rule. So legally, are we on solid ground to require this transmission plan right now?
Commissioner Maestas and members of the commission, I agree with Commissioner Fishman that the statute says load management, and you can't look at load management without looking at transmission and distribution, and that these are significant capital expenditures, so that they do become a large part of the most cost-effective portfolio. And the rule does give us authority over the most cost-effective portfolio. That being said, I also agree with what you said, Commissioner Maestas, that the actual words of transmission and distribution are not located in the rule, and that is one of the reasons, among many others, that we're proposing to change the IRP rule. So that being said, I think we have legal authority to request a meaningful analysis of transmission and distribution constraints, given all of PNM's statements, given the statute's authority on load management, and the statute and the rules authority on the most cost-effective portfolio, since transmission and distribution are a large part of the most cost-effective portfolio.
So Judy, what if we made it a recommendation instead of a contingency?
That is certainly something the commission could do.
Commissioner, Vice Chair Maestas, could you repeat what you just said, because my screen was frozen for a moment?
Well, I think let me talk about Commissioner Fishman's version of the order. I think it appropriately, calls to light the role of transmission planning and resource adequacy, but the current rule doesn't really support the requirement of a transmission plan in the IRP. And so I was asking Judy, if it would be best if we made the inclusion of a transmission plan at this point a recommendation instead of a contingency to approving this IRP update.
I see. Wait, well, okay, so that's the question I must have missed. So did you answer that yet, Judy, with respect to a recommendation versus a contingency?
It's my opinion the commission has a choice to do it either way.
I see. Well, of course we do. I don't think that he was asking you, do we have a choice? I think he was asking you what's better.
Oh, in terms of better, then it comes down to weighing certainty versus uncertainty. I mean, if you put it in as a contingency, it's more likely that it's certain that P&M will include it, transmission and distribution, in its 2023 IRP. If you leave it as a recommendation, it may or may not be included.
Hear you. Thank
So
you.
Madam Chair, I just have one more question for Judy.
Okay.
Judy, is there any way that we can require this, or maybe not require it, but recommend it of all the other IOUs in their current or upcoming IRP updates? That way we're not perceived as singling out P&M?
Yes, we will be doing, we have that proposed in the rulemaking. And as I said, the rulemaking could be completed within the next couple months, and that would then apply to all utilities IRPs upcoming. Other utilities are in different positions, though, as a practical matter, than P&M. P&M has documented and admitted and filed documents about its particular reserve margin issues for 2023 and beyond.
So Judy, the required IRP updates for the other investor-owned utilities, they're all staggered, of course. And so can we assume that the IRP updates for the other IOUs will certainly fall under the new rule by the time it's finalized?
You know, I am not 100% sure of that answer. I believe we recently accepted SPS's IRP, so I don't know exactly when they're filing another one. And I also remember that we recently accepted EPE's IRP, but I also don't know when they'll be filing another one. But that being said, if I remember it, it was fairly recent, like within the past year. And as I said, if we adopt the new IRP rule in the near future, it seems like that will be governing the subsequent filings by SPS and EPE.
Well, just to close my part of this discussion is I would prefer making the analysis of transmission and distribution constraints and opportunities a recommendation instead of a contingency, and defer to the upcoming rule change, which will require that in all IRPs going forward. That would be my compromise, on this issue. But I'd like to hear from other commissioners. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Commissioner Maestas, and Commissioner Fishman, please proceed.
Yeah, I heard a couple of interesting ideas there. Personally, I'm not in favor of making it a recommendation, simply because I think the history is if we don't ask, we don't get. We've got this issue of resource adequacy coming up, not coming up, but upon us already. And that creates some special need to be sure that we don't make it voluntary and then not get the information. We need this information to make good decisions as a commission, in my opinion. But I think Commissioner Maestas made another suggestion that to me does work, and I understand his issues around equity for sure, and treating all of the utilities equally. Judy, is it possible to put in some language? I understand what you're saying about the rule, and I also understand what you're saying about IRPs for EPE and SPS being a little ways off. But could we, in this particular order, make any statement to the effect of our intent to require this in future IRPs, the distribution and transmission analysis?
Well, Commissioner Fishman, members of the commission, I would say no. EPE and SPS aren't parties to this case, first. And
Okay.
second, we have already made a statement of our intent in the rulemaking docket for the IRP rule. So both of those issues would make me recommend not making any orders for other utilities in this docket. We have made a statement of our intent by issuing the notice of proposed rulemaking in the IRP rulemaking.
Yeah. Okay. Any suggestions, Judy, that you might have to kind of bridge this gap that we're discussing?
Commissioner Fishman, could we hear from other commissioners before we start developing a solution?
Sure.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar or Commissioner Burr, do you have comments to make in this case?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
Yes, thank you very much. I think going forward, we should complete the rulemaking process and be on solid ground to work with utility companies if we need transmission planning, because in my mind, I think transmission planning is a whole different perspective when it comes to the integrated resource planning. I read the reply.
Thank you, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar. Commissioner Byrd, do you have comments? Are you finished?
Madam Chair, I'm not done yet.
Yes, I'm sorry. Please proceed.
Okay. Yes, I was saying that I read the reply from P&M and they're willing to work with the commission. And I think that is a good thing. They would like to offer working together with all the interested parties to create some type of a workshop so that all parties can be involved and to build a record and be on solid ground. I think that's a good recommendation from P&M. I would like to ask my colleagues to think about that, to think about establishing some type of a path to establish workshops and hear from all parties. And we can't, at this point, just to go with one utility company and request what is their transmission planning is a little bit difficult at this point in time. Maybe if we have the record in front of us with all the parties, it gives me a better understanding where New Mexico stands as far as the power grid compared to the rest of the country. And I also learned that FERC, the federal level, they also have initiated their own rulemaking process for transmission planning. So we need to weave in our concerns along with the FERC's rulemaking process. And that's my comments, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar. Commissioner Byrd, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, excuse me. I understand where Commissioner Fishman is coming from, and I don't disagree with his position. But I do have the same concern that Commissioner Maes is expressing, in that we are requiring something now that isn't set firm in the rule. Yeah, the rule is going to have that, and eventually they will have to comply anyway. But it seems like the statement should be more with the understanding that a transmission plan will be implemented in the 2023, and not.
Commissioner Byrd, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Commissioner Byrd?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm sorry. My connection is unfortunately unstable today. So I wondered, you stopped, I stopped being able to hear you when you were just starting to explain about 30 seconds ago. Could you go back and say it again? I apologize to ask you to repeat like this, but I want to be able to hear everything.
So I'm thinking that the language just needs to be changed to make them aware that the next rule has to have transmission planning included, but not contingent on the current plan, because it wasn't a requirement when this plan was proposed, written, and provided.
I see. That's your position then, Commissioner Byrd?
So we're
Okay,
discussing about, so it's a fine line between what Commissioner Fishman is asking and what we're trying to change. But the acceptance of this plan with transmission planning included is not, if the acceptance of, we want the acceptance of this plan with the understanding that transmission planning will be included in the next IRP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though the rule hasn't been completed yet, it will be, as Ms. Amir said, by the time that report is due. So it's kind of just a tweaking of the language, not taking anything out.
Okay. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Byrd.
Yeah, I'm glad you're confused more now.
No, actually, you became succinct. Well, you're always succinct, but I don't know. You made it clear. So, commissioners, I'd like to, if you don't mind, provide my discussion viewpoint. I'll come in last here. Well, I guess I look at this case from the perspective of what our duty is, not only under the rule, but under the law, and what we should do when we're trying to chart a path to, the future grid and the most cost-effective way to protect the consumers. I kind of take that perspective. And I guess I feel a little bit differently about the impediment presented by the fact that the rule doesn't contain the exact language we need right now, because It's a rule. We can waive rules. It's one of our rules. And because P&M brought the issue up. And when that happens and we become aware of facts that we need to take into account in our decision making, I feel our duty has arisen to do something about that. And that's why I think it's quite appropriate to put something into our present approval document, our order, requiring this company, because they're the ones who have this problem and they described it very clearly in a way we can't ignore. I think it's not at all inappropriate to say, well, you raised this issue. How are you going to deal with it? I think to do anything less would be frankly irresponsible. It would be like we're having to ignore this problem because of a rule, even though we have the rule, a new rule that will probably be in place in a few months, hopefully, if it's approved, that will address this very issue. And, I listened to Judy, and she's clearly telling us the other two utilities are on notice. They heard what we said we want to put in the future rule, considerations of, detailed plans of transmission and distribution. And the magic words in the current rule and the rule we've had for a long time are load management. It's no surprise to the utilities, in my opinion, that transmission and distribution issues should be it matters that should be fleshed out and considered in more detail in these plans. And I think you could, I can't cite particular language right now, but in having looked at the plan that was submitted originally a year ago, there was lots of talk in the initial 2020 plan filing by P&M of transportation and distribution planning matters. Those were even mentioned, I believe, in that plan. So I really don't think it works a hardship on these utilities when they've been participating in all the workshops and all the filings and are fully aware of this need. And really, it's essentially a requirement, although not set in our rules yet, but it's so inherent in the concept of load management that transmission and distribution matters have to be addressed. And particularly, that I think we have to include it, and particularly in connection with P&M in this case, because they clearly state that transmission is an impediment to their ability to comply with the mandates for renewable resources. So I'm fully in support of what the alternate order says, because I feel that we do have not only the ground underneath us to do that. It may not be in the current plan, but it is certainly within our ambit of responsibility. And we're empowered to do all things convenient and necessary to discharge our duties. And in this case, I feel that our duty is to require P&M to propose some solutions to the problem that they themselves have raised. So I personally think worrying about whether we call it a recommendation or a requirement is not precisely the issue. The issue is what's our duty to do here. And I think, unfortunately, we've seen in the past that if we just make a recommendation, if you don't ask for what you want, you don't get it. And I think what we really want is to have P&M clarify what they can do going forward on this issue. And they raised the problem. They raised the issue. So I'm not troubled by the fact that we may not be treating utilities exactly alike in this matter because they're not exactly alike and they have different situations. And I frankly don't see this as any kind of a threat to our regulatory activities over the other utilities. I mean, I think we would have to do the same thing if they raised issues similar. So those are my thoughts about it. And, I'd welcome any comments in return to that because, I think it would be good if we could get all on the same page and, so does anybody have any comments on that or on anything else?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
No, thank you for that. I think we as a commission are going to have another bite at the apple, and it's going to be a much more credible opportunity with the support of an updated rule that's going to require what we're asking for right now in the future 2023 IRP. So I support version 2. I have an amendment, Madam Chair, I'd like to propose for a vote, but perhaps you'd want to entertain a motion to approve version 2, and then I can recommend my amendment as a separate vote.
That would be fine. Yeah, I'll entertain a motion and then we can discuss. We'll have to have some discussion time on the amendment, I guess. I imagine you're going to propose amending it to use the word recommend, and I would like for us to discuss that some more if you are planning to do that.
Okay.
Okay. So is there a motion for?
So I will move.
Okay.
I will move to approve version 2.
Do I hear a second? I'll second that.
All right, Madam Chair. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. I'd like to propose an amendment, and this would be amended language in version 2 of the order, decretal paragraph A. And so I'm going to start at the second sentence. And then Judy, Judy, you're fantastic at listening and then making recommendations to the language, but let me just throw out my proposed language. Okay, version 2, decretal paragraph A, second sentence, PNM's 2021 IRP for the period of 2020 to 2040 is hereby accepted as updated with the following recommendation that PNM include the following in its future 2023 IRP filing. Number 1, a meaningful analysis of transmission and distribution constraints and opportunities to increase resource availability and flexibility, and any additional related requirements that the updated IRP rule may require. So that's my amended language.
So that's your proposed amendment, Mr.
Yes,
Commissioner Maestas?
Yes, and first of all, before I
you're
move
freezing.
to approve the amendment, I'd like to ask Judy if that follow-on language makes sense, that what we're asking for as a recommendation would not be limiting in the 2023 IRP filing in case the updated rule may have additional requirements.
Well, I agree you could cross-reference an updated rule. And I agree your language gets rid of contingent upon and states recommends including instead.
Okay, thank you, Judy. So with that, I'll move to approve my amendment.
Second.
Okay, let's discuss it. Does anybody have any comments they would like to make, Commissioner Fishman or anybody?
Yeah. So, Madam Chair, thank you. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable step in the right direction, and somewhat bridges the difference of perspective on this. And I would be, I think I'm good with that amendment.
Okay. Well,
Madam Chair.
yes, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
Thank you very much. I disagree with the path that has been proposed within the last few minutes, just because the rule is incomplete. And the way the court systems work in New Mexico is that the commissioners should, or they should follow the rules set in place. I think that's what they follow. That's the way I see it. And I believe that the second portion is that we're making a decision in the gray area. We don't have definite legal language to propose additional requirements. So I feel that we're not on the solid foundation. Even though we tweak the language a little bit, I still feel that we're not on solid foundation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah. Okay, I'd like to ask Judy to explain. Judy, are we on sufficient legal ground to make this amendment that Commissioner Fishman had initiated? I know he just said he can go along with the recommended language, but I'm troubled by it, frankly, because I don't think we can trust that we'll get the type of analysis that we need. But I would like to hear from you, Ms. Amer, what you think about our legal ground on requiring a requirement here rather than a recommendation. Would you mind explaining it?
Commissioner Hall, members of the commission, it appears that at least procedurally, we had a motion to accept the requirement that Commissioner Fishman proposed. Then Commissioner Maestas made a friendly amendment. The reason I say it was a friendly amendment was because Commissioner Fishman then accepted it. So I believe now that the motion is to approve Commissioner Maestas's language, which is that the commission recommends PNM include transmission and distribution in its upcoming IRP. The language regarding following requirements of a new rule, that could be added, but it really doesn't add anything because it kind of goes without saying that once a new rule is promulgated and made effective, PNM will need to comply with it. That being said, it doesn't hurt to put that in. So my answer to your question is right now, the requirement language is not even up for vote. That being said, I previously stated that I did agree with Commissioner Fishman that we have statutory authority to regulate a plan that includes load management. And if PNM has stated in its filings that due to the recent events, transmission constraints are an issue for them, I think we have authority to require it of P&M based upon their particular statements filed in their updates. That being said, the requirement language is not up for vote now. It's only the
I understand that.
recommendation.
Correct. However, for purposes of parties understanding how they want to vote on the amendment, it's important to understand whether or not we have solid legal foundation for choosing the initial path that was suggested. So I appreciate your response, because I believe you did say that you felt there was sufficient legal basis for going forward with the order as unamended. Correct?
Yes, that's correct. But I do understand Commissioner Maestas' concerns, and I have read, I agree with Commissioner Vicente Aguilar regarding P&M's argument. So I'm not saying it's a slam dunk and P&M could challenge it.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Fishman.
Yeah, one other question of Judy here. So are you saying that if these requirements are approved in a new rule in the next few months, that rule would apply to the 2023 IRP where the process is already beginning?
Yes, because a rule is, when it's effective, it'll be applicable to the filing. So if the filing of the IRP is after the effective date of the new rule, the filing needs to comply with the new rule. That being said, the advisory process is going on now, and it's going on under the old rule. So yeah, I understand you're raising an interesting issue, but the actual application itself will be governed by a new rule if the new rule is in effect as of the date of the application.
So P&M might face the risk, if they don't include it in their process from the beginning, of having to go back and include it in order to meet the requirements of the new rule.
Could you repeat that, Steve? Commissioner Fishman, can you repeat that? You broke up for just a minute. P&M might include the risk what?
So if P&M does not start including transportation and distribution early in their input process, they face the risk of having to go back and redo it in order to comply with the rule, with the new rule. Is that correct, Judy?
The advisory, no, right now they're in the advisory process, which is governed by the current rule. When they move to the next stage, if a new rule is in effect, it will have prospective effect and it will govern the application. So it begs the question, if they didn't include it in the advisory process, how do they put it in the application? I'm not really sure about that. They may have to do more advisory process before they file the application, or we'll have to wait and see how P&M chooses to file its application. There's also the issue of they have filed comments in the rulemaking objecting to the inclusion of transmission into the new rule. So there's uncertainty as to whether or not that will even get included in the final version.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so commissioners, I feel that's a sobering piece of information there. And I think we have to look at what we're up against. We're charged with implementing the Energy Transition Act. We're trying to get rules in place, but yet we have this effort to prevent even the inclusion of transmission and distribution analysis in our new rule. So I guess for me, that just makes it all the more important to not just recommend to utilities when we have an indication of where they're going to be. I'm talking about P&M here. So I guess that's my problem with that language. So for purposes of the vote in front of us, I don't think it's the best course to use the word recommend myself, but I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. So is there further discussion on this? Yes.
Maybe we should have a separate vote on the amendment.
We are having a separate vote on the amendment.
Of version 2 accepted the amendment, and then we can move on to the main motion.
Correct. That is what we're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Maestas, as I stated, there was a motion by Commissioner Fishman to approve the alternate version. And then you made a friendly amendment, which Commissioner Fishman accepted, to delete the requirement language and insert the recommended language. So now that would be what we're voting on. It would be your amended motion to Commissioner Fishman's original motion.
Okay, so we're back to the main motion with the friendly amendment.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll call for the question.
I'll call for the question. Let's do it.
I think I can.
So the Commissioner Fishman's motion for the alternative order with the friendly amendment by Commissioner Maestas to change the language to recommend and to add a reference to complying with any future requirements of any rule that comes out of the current rulemaking. I'll take the roll call. Commissioner Hall.
No.
What was that, an aye?
No.
That was
I don't. Yeah.
That was no. Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Fishman.
Aye.
Yeah.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
No.
Commissioner Byrd.
Aye.
Commissioner Maestas.
Aye.
The motion passes 3-2.
Madam Chair, just a quick comment, if I may. I would have preferred the stronger language, but it's pretty clear to me the commission wasn't ready to go there. So at least this feels like as far as we can go, and I appreciate Commissioner Maestas trying to find some kind of middle ground there. So
yeah.
I would have liked more, but this is a good step.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Fine. Well, let's move on then in the agenda. The next item we have is item 10. We have an executive closed session. Let's see, and that pertains to limited personnel matters pursuant to New Mexico statutes annotated at 1978, section 1015(1), paren H, paren 2, on the topic of the potential discussion regarding hiring for a utility division director. So we'll be going into closed session, and I'd like to ask Sarah to explain to us how that's going to happen. I believe in the past, we just stay where we are and then we get pulled into a closed session. Is that correct, Sarah? So we'll have to have a motion.
Yes, Madam Commissioner, Madam Chair, and Commissioners, this is Sarah. So you will have to vote to go into closed session. We'll go into session.
Right. So let's, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into closed session. Commissioners, someone want to make a motion?
I'll move. I'll
Do I
make a
have
motion.
my motion second? Do I have a second? Okay.
Commissioner Hall, have you read the caption?
I just did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said limited personnel matters pursuant to NMSA section
I did.
10-15-1H2. All right.
I did that, and I did the potential discussion regarding hiring. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know, do you need a Office of General Counsel in that executive session or not? I don't believe we've been involved in the in other, but I was just asking.
Yeah, that's correct.
What was that you said, Commissioner Ward?
That was correct. That.
It's correct, that she has not been in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, Judy. I think this is just for us to discuss this hiring. Thank you for the.
This is just a potential discussion regarding the hiring of a utility division director.
Correct. It's not a legal matter. It's a personnel matter. So.
All right, well then, there was a motion and a second.
Mm-hmm. So could you please take the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Hall.
Aye.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd.
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman.
Aye.
Commissioner Maestas.
Aye.
The motion to go into executive session to discuss limited personnel matters pursuant to section 10-15-1H2 passes 5-0.
Okay. All right, thank you, Judy. So Sarah, can you please put us into the right room?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to announce that.
Can you speak up, Sarah?
Yes, can you hear me now?
A little better.
I just wanted to announce that I'll be joining you and Wayne will be joining you. And then I believe that we were going to have a discussion and then bring the candidate in.
All right.
And this is regarding a specific candidate for utility division director.
Yes,
that's correct.
Okay, I will open the meeting room now.
Thank you.
Hold on, let me just table this new bar back here. You just got to take us for right now. We'll get to, I do want to go there.
I don't know who has the. Let me catch me down. Yeah, I guess that matter. All they got to do is hear you. They want to see.
Yeah, they don't need to see me, as you well know. I'm pretty good. How are you? You know, we have weeds like we've never had in the 7 years we've been living where we live. Yeah, just all kinds of. You know, I think it's mostly from our bird feeders. Because there's a lot of sunflowers and.
Can someone please mute the hearing room microphone? It is hot right now.
What's happening here? Whoops.
And see what's happening. I'll be right back. Oh, fine, thank you. Dave, can you hear me?
Boy.
Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Yeah.
Dave, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
You still hearing?
I can, but I cannot hear you. You look like you're on mute.
We can hear everyone publicly right now, just as an FYI.
Okay, did that fix it?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
You do.
I'm on sound separately on phone because our modem blew out. We had a lightning strike.
Oh.
It was loud.
Near your house?
Yeah, probably within 50 yards.
Oh, how scary.
You guys are public right now. I can hear you, and I probably shouldn't be hearing you.
What is that?
This is Brad Borman.
So we're on, is it that we're in both rooms right now?
Actually, that's not what we want. We want to just be in.
I think because of the phone, it's tough for me to switch to the private room. Well, no, then you won't hear me.
They're hearing you on both sides.
So do I need to hit leave? What? Hello?
Commissioner Fishman, you're in the first meeting, you're not in the second meeting. You might need to leave the first meeting and click on and then enter a second meeting.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
did Sarah send you a link? So I think you need to join the link for the second meeting. But I didn't receive it. I'll try to send her. I'll just say we need
He's in the breakout room now, Judy.
Okay, good, thanks.
Well, can anyone hear me?
We can hear you in the main room, Commissioner Fishman.
That's what I was afraid of. I guess I'd need a meeting ID and a passcode for the
I
breakout.
will let Sarah know right now.
And by the way, I need that on my Gmail account. She'll know.
Ms. Amer? Judy? Can you hear me? Oh, here.
We can hear you.
Yes,
Madam
yes, I
Chair.
can hear you. I was just
Okay,
on.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering where everybody else is. I see Commissioner Maestas and Commissioner Byrd here and Commissioner Vicente
Can-
Aguilar. I don't see Commissioner
Can you hear
Fishman
me?
yet. Who's
Can you hear
that?
me?
Yes, I
This
can
is
hear you,
Steve.
Steve. Yeah,
Okay, great. So don't worry, my picture will catch up.
as you
We
say.
can go.
All right. So we're returning to the public open meeting. I believe we need a motion. Do we need a motion to do this, guys, to
Yes.
return? Judy?
Yes, you do. You need a motion to come out of executive session.
Judy?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Yeah.
Okay. You need a motion to come out of executive session. You need to state that the only matters that were discussed were the personnel matters of potentially hiring a potential one specific candidate for the utility division director. So yes, you need a motion to come out of closed session. And you need to state that the only matters that were discussed were the limited personnel matters of hiring one specific candidate for utility division director.
Okay. Thank you, Judy. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to that effect. Commissioners, someone make a motion? And I would like to state that we, Judy, shall I make the statement about the return to this meeting and the topic, or is that for the motion maker?
That would be for the motion maker.
Okay. So Commissioner Fishman, are you intending to make that motion?
Oh, no, I have to repeat the words. So I move that we come out of executive session and we discussed only the potential hiring of a utility division director. And what else do I need to say, Judy?
That you were there for limited personnel matters as an exception to the Open Meetings Act, Section 10-15-1H2.
All of that we were there for the limited purpose of discussing that personnel matter under Section 10-15-1H2.
Right, and it was one specific candidate.
And we talked only about one specific candidate.
Thank you for the motion, Commissioner Fishman. Do I hear a second?
Okay.
I think I heard a second.
That
Okay,
was a second from Commissioner Byrd.
all right. Judy, can you take the roll of the vote?
Yes, Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman,
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd,
Aye.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar,
Aye.
Commissioner Maestas.
Aye.
The motion to come out of executive session has passed 5-0.
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I make a motion?
Yes. You may.
Thank
you, Mr. Fishman.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve our chief of staff's choice of a utility division director, and that we make an offer for him to join the PRC.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Judy, can you take the roll call vote? Any discussion, commissioners? Any further discussion?
Yep, Madam Chair, I just wanted to thank the Chief of Staff for allowing some key team members of the utility division to participate in the selection process. I thought that that was very, very important. And so, yeah, I'll be supporting the motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Maestas. And I agree. I thought the process that Wayne conducted was very inclusive and a breath of fresh air in the commission. All right. So let's have the vote, Jody.
Yes, Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar,
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd,
Aye.
Commissioner Maestas,
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you,
Well,
Madam
thank you very much. And Mr. Wilcock, congratulations and welcome. Okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda. That will be item number 11, discussion and potential action. Wait a minute, that's not the right section. It's in item number 11, but it's item 16.
There you go.
And this is put on by Commissioner Maestas, and it pertains to the report to the legislature regarding Section 62, New Mexico statutes annotated, 16-4B7, the ETA, Energy Transition Act report that the commission is required to provide to the legislature. Commissioner Maestas, can you carry on?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to state kind of the objective of this required report to the legislature from our agency. The Renewable Energy Act in Section 4 requires the Public Regulation Commission to issue a report to the New Mexico legislature concerning its administration of the renewable portfolio standard for 2040 and 2045 for investor-owned electric public utilities. Specifically, the commission is to issue the report in consultation with electricity transmission system operators responsible for balancing New Mexico electricity loads and resources. All of the commissioners have had a copy of the complete report. Mr. John Reynolds provided a summary presentation at the previous meeting. The only change that I've requested Eli LaSalle to do is to attach a cover letter, a transmittal letter to the legislature, similar to the previous report, which was the initial report. And we may be just including a cover sheet to the report, because as you can see in the current version, it starts with a table of contents. And so I'm asking the commission to approve this report with those minor changes to add a cover sheet to the report. And the transmittal letter, it doesn't show a signature block. In the previous report, the initial report, it was transmitted by the chief of staff. So I suppose that is an issue for discussion by the commission. In my opinion, I think the chair ought to transmit official reports to the legislature, but if the commission wants to continue the tradition or the practice of having the chief of staff sign the letter, that's okay as well. So, Madam Chair, I'll stand for any questions. But as I stated, John Reynolds had already presented this, summarized the report in the previous meeting.
Yes, he did. Thank you, Vice Chair Maestas. Commissioners, does anybody have an opinion as to whether or not the chief of staff or the chair should sign the letters? I'm happy either way, but I respect that Commissioner Maestas has a view that the chair should sign these kinds of transmittals. So anybody have any comments on this?
And Madam Chair, we do need to approve it.
Oh, yes. Well, yes, we do. So we can, that's fine. I just thought we'd want to get the form of it first, but whatever, let's approve it.
Well, let me just make a motion, Madam Chair, to approve the report to the legislature regarding the RPS standards for IOUs with a focus on the 2040 and 2045 milestone renewable portfolio standards, and have
Okay, is that a motion?
the chair sign the transmittal letter.
Are we making a motion here?
Yes, that's a motion.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Judy, would you mind taking the roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Maestas,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd,
Aye.
Commissioner Fishman,
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Well, if there's no other concern expressed by any of the commissioners, I'm happy to sign the letter to go to the legislature. Any commissioners have any comments they want to make about that? Would you like a block of signatures? Okay, not hearing anything. So I'll go ahead and sign. Yes.
Good.
Okay, fine. All right, let's move on to, let's see, item number 17, I believe, has been pulled off for next week. So going on to Roman numeral number 12, communications with chief of staff. Mr. Probst, do you have any communications for us?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the commission. I just wanted to update you on one thing, which you're all very familiar with, having read the newspapers like I do. The nominating committee for the appointed PRC has been formed. All 7 appointments have been made as of the due date, which was July 1st. I have reached out to them, to the appointees as a group, and have begun to reach out to them individually as well. Madam Chair, as you know, the statute, the enabling statute requires PRC commission staff to provide administrative support to the committee. Of course, administrative support is not defined. That will be, I'm sure, defined over the next couple of weeks and months as we go through this process for the first time. But I did want to let the committee know that staff is here and prepared to provide that administrative support as needed by the committee. So something else we've added to our work schedule for the next few months. And with that, Madam Chair, happy to talk about any other issues that the commission would like to discuss.
Thank you, Wayne. Commissioners, does anybody have a question for Wayne?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
Yes, I would like to inform.
Please proceed.
Staff. Yes, I would like to inform our chief of staff if he can send an email to all our employees and let them know that the new appointee committee, if they have any questions or if they want to reach out to our organization, I think our chief of staff should let our employees know to be on standby and to fully cooperate. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
I will do that, Madam Chair. That's a very good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the chief of staff or comments from anyone? No? All right, well, let's move on. So next we have communications with general counsel.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I have 2 matters, and if any of the others do, they should let me know. The first matter is confirming that next week's meeting will not be held on July 20th, but it was moved to July 21st, a Thursday. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. because of the NARIC meeting that is going to be held in San Diego. And I understand at least one commissioner is going, maybe more.
Right.
So, yeah.
So confirming that. The second thing is we were planning on having some long issues next week, one of them being PNM's motion to stay regarding the San Juan case 19-00018, and perhaps another recommended decision in another PNM case. So gas company requested to give an update regarding it, it's extreme weather event. It's required to give these updates, but they asked for next week, and we suggested perhaps the following week, the 27th. And I just want to confirm with the commission that the 27th would be okay to have a gas company presentation about their extreme weather event.
Thank you, Judy. Let's see. On my calendar, I see that there is a NARIC summer meeting in South Dakota. I'm not sure what this means. And then California. I'm confused here. I've got something on my calendar. Does anybody else have a NARIC meeting indicated? This might be the Western Conference. I'm not sure. Does any other commissioner have anything on their calendar for that date? Can you guys hear me? I see headphones.
I hear you, but I'm not sure about the
Oh, wait,
others.
you said the 27th, Judy. That was, I hit the wrong button.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that day. Let's see. Anybody else on the 27th? Okay, anybody else have any problem with that date?
Oh,
Apparently not, Judy. So I think that's probably a go.
Yeah, the only other, and then the other two matters are tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. There's going to be a workshop in the Rule 44592, and I sent all commissioners and assistants an invite. So those who accepted will be getting a Zoom invite, and those who have not accepted will not be getting it. So I did that last Thursday or Friday. In addition, on Friday at 1 p.m., there's a public hearing on Rule 177. It's 20-00177. And let me look up the exact title of that one. And I also sent you an invite for that. So.
Judy, I don't see an invitation on my phone for that. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe you sent the invitation. I didn't accept it.
I switched these two. It's the rulemaking public hearing is 1 o'clock Friday, July 15th on Rule 440 and Rule 592. The workshop tomorrow is on the renewable energy rule for rural electric co-ops, and that's just a workshop. That's at 3 p.m. I sent both the invites to all commissioners and all assistants, but we can resend it again.
I see that.
So, sorry, I mixed it up. Tomorrow is Renewable Energy Act rulemaking workshop for rural electric co-ops at 3 p.m. And Friday is 440, Rule 440 and Rule 592 public hearing.
Okay.
at
Well,
one.
thank you, Judy. Okay, has everybody got that? All
And
right.
just contact me if you need another invite, or if you can find it. I believe it came from Anna Kippenbrock.
Okay. All right, fine. Thank you.
Okay,
Anything else? Anything else, Judy?
that's it.
Okay. All right, commissioners, communications with commissioners.
Madam Chair,
Yes? Who is it?
I've been receiving a lot of complaints over the last several months regarding Windstream service in my district. And I'd like to ask OGC what options we have to look into these issues. And I bring them up not just because of the sheer volume of complaints, but the alarming circumstances of some of the complaints. For example, the Espanola 911 center was down 6 lines out of their total 7. The Chama schools had some difficulty in upgrading their service. I've received complaints from homebound individuals who rely on broadband to transmit real-time health-related information. Complaints about phone lines installed above ground and Windstream taking months to actually bury the lines. We even had a situation where a particular line was above ground and it had to be installed on an emergency basis, and Windstream took months to bury it. When they buried it, it was inoperable. So it's not a laughing matter. I really think it's time to take this issue to another level, but I know that we have limitations on our oversight of telecom companies, but it's my understanding that we squarely have oversight of quality of service. And so my question to Judy, I guess in this case, Judy, is there anything I can do to escalate this and really get a better handle on the scope and pervasiveness of these problems with Windstream?
Judy, Mr. Chair,
Yeah, I was
Mr. Vice Chair.
refer it to Russell. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, I can put an order on next week's agenda to have staff look into the matter, do an inquiry or investigation. The Windstream is a rural ILEC due to the number of access lines that it serves. So it's actually not, Mr. Vice Chair, you had referred to the Commission's authority over quality of service. And you might be thinking there of for large ILECs, large incumbent local exchange carriers under the New Mexico Telecommunications Act, because we have been dealing with that issue in our rules and an appeal center about that. But Windstream, that's only CenturyLink is subject to that statute. All of the other incumbent local exchange carriers, the ILECs, are rural ILECs, including Windstream, due to the number of access lines they serve. We do have limited authority over them, but when it comes to looking into a matter like this, it may be beyond. I'd have to look at the statute, and we shouldn't do an inquiry or an investigation beyond an area that we have authority to act in. As you'll recall from my analysis of the publicly owned utility matter, under the PRC Act, we're limited to doing investigations and studies of matters that the Commission could actually take action on, and we might not really. We have very limited authority over rural ILECs, more limited than we do over large ILECs. But I shouldn't get too much into substance. I will look into it and be in contact with your office about it.
Thank you, Russell. And then just the last issue I wanted to raise is I've been receiving many complaints regarding new service connection by PNM ratepayers, situations where builders build a new house and they ask for a new service activation and it's taking a long time. I think there's an extreme case where there's, I think, a relocation of utilities in conjunction with the highway construction project. And I've been in touch with a contractor who has really been wrestling with this particular situation for quite a while. And so I'll be looking into this. I've already looked into it informally with consumer relations to, number one, identify the pervasiveness of issues with new service connection. And then I'm looking further into the delay in establishing service from the time the complaint was lodged with consumer relations. So what I'm trying to say is that I think that, we as commissioners, it's great that we respond to individual constituent complaints regarding service, but when they start becoming pervasive to the degree where it impacts health and public safety, I think we need to elevate it as within the bounds of our authority. And so I don't want to get into a discussion regarding new service connections right now with PNM, but I just want to let my colleagues know that I am looking into this with respect to PNM only because of the sheer number of complaints I'm getting and then the time that it's taking to address a lot of these issues. I realize each issue is very different and there's extenuating circumstances, but I think when it becomes pervasive, I think we need to elevate wherever we can and escalate. So that's all I had, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Maestas. It's a very important issue, and I'm glad you're going to be looking into it. And it's very concerning what you're telling us, especially about the windstream service problems. And I thought we had some limited jurisdiction to be able to address quality of service. So hopefully that these phenomena will fall under that category, and we can get going forward on trying to find more about it and see if there's something we can do in the connection with a remedy. So thanks very much for that. Any other comments from any other commissioners?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Fishman.
Following up on Commissioner Maestas' point on interconnection, on connections with electric utilities. Certainly, I've had my share of complaints from folks in the El Paso electric territory as well. And I've often wondered whether it makes sense to have some kind of metric that the commission follows for how rapidly utilities do make connections and how many connections are delayed beyond a reasonable time frame. And there is a obligation to serve, and when you're slow making a connection, you're not following through as a utility on your obligation to serve. And I don't think it's a particularly fine line. I just think we need to define it. But I think that's something we should be looking into as a commission, because it costs folks a ton of money when there are delays in connections. And I'm hearing about it. I hear about it quite frequently. So it may be something where we, and Commissioner Maestas, I don't know if you've got Christopher looking into this, or if we need some other resource looking into it. And Judy, I'm not sure if we have any metric or if this has been a topic of discussion in the past. But comments from either of you would be welcome right now.
Commissioner Fishman, I believe, don't we have a interconnection rulemaking ongoing? And I think Hans is handling that. Maybe he could discuss whether those issues are included in the rulemaking.
I can definitely review Commissioner Fishman's questions with that. I mean, we don't have that noticed today, so I don't know if that would be appropriate to discuss at this point of the meeting, but I can definitely reach out to Commissioner Fishman and relay those answers to him separately.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Byrd.
Just going to put out there the reminder that as commissioners, that when we get complaints in our office, we're just supposed to push them over to Consumer Relations Division and not actually be conducting the investigations ourselves. So anyway, I just wanted to repeat that warning.
Yeah.
That because it becomes ex parte, if it ever becomes a case before us, then if you were too involved early on, you can't be in the vote making later. So anyway, that was it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, let me just respond to that, no,
Sure.
I'm not doing my own investigations. In fact, the basis for me bringing this up is I asked Consumer Relations just to query the complaint database on those issues. And my assistant will attest that as soon as I receive a complaint, I hand it over to Consumer Relations. So I'm simply looking at the complaint database and kind of zeroing in on, for example, new service in the case of PNM and restoration of service with respect to Windstream.
I see. Well, thank you very much for that clarification, Commissioner Mayesis. Does anybody else have any other communications you want to make? Well,
Yes, I have a question.
yes, Commissioner Vicente Aguilar.
This would be for our Chief of Staff. We just heard from 2 commissioners. There's a number of complaints. I would like to get a status, maybe at the next meeting, from our Chief of Staff regarding who's going to be heading the Consumer Relations Department. It's been a while since we had our departure of our leader from that department. So I would like some feedback. Thank you.
I'm happy to do that, Madam Chair, and I think next week will be timely for that discussion.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, commissioners. Anybody else have anything they want to say before we adjourn? Doesn't sound like. What? Goodbye? Is that what you said? Goodbye. Okay, we're adjourned. Have a great week. Bye.